Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So, Brett Keisel, the greatest seventh round draft pick probably in the history of the NFL. Excuse me if I'm a little biased, but I absolutely love Fear the Beard. Brett Keisel, he has a lot to say about the city of Pittsburgh, their football, their baseball, and their hockey not winning championships. Let's get into the article and go from there. What happened to our standards? Brett Keisel wants to see Steelers. Pittsburgh return to the city of champions. Really miss city of champions, he wrote on X, saying that the Pirates want to lose. He added Steelers paint a pretty picture, but haven't won a playoff game since January 2017. Pens haven't been competitive since 66 sold the team. What happened to our standards? There's the tweet again. Really miss city of champions. He gets into the whole thing. What happened to our standards? Running back, Brett Keisel, July 1st, 2025. The article goes on to say standards are a matter of debate when it comes to Steelers fans. And frankly, it comes down to interpretation. There is the standard of exception, and then there's a standard of execution. The Steelers hold themselves to a standard of expectation of which they have continually fallen short. On that, at least there is certainly no debate. The standard level of play they have exhibited in recent years hasn't produced the results. The Steelers are still one of the few teams in the century with multiple championships, and only two have more. But they haven't won a Super Bowl since 2008, haven't played in one since 2010, and haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Brett Keisel played through a lean period or two in Steelers history, particularly late in his career after Pittsburgh lost the 2010 Super Bowl. The team backslid for years before a brief recovery, but they only won three total playoff games, reaching the conference finals once and nothing since. Mind you, Pittsburgh's other teams haven't done much better than the Steelers. The Penguins haven't made the playoffs since 2021 2022 season and haven't advanced to the second round since 2017 and 18. They did win the Stanley Cup twice just before that in 2015 and 16 and 2016 and 17. They also won the Stanley Cup in 2008 and 2009 at the same time the Steelers won their last Super Bowl. As for the Pirates, they haven't even advanced to the postseason since 2015. They've only finished 500 or better once since then, and 509 at that 82 and 79. Halfway into the 2025 season, they have one of the worst records in baseball, 14 games below 500. Let's just say we're a far cry from the 1970s for Pittsburgh sports. During that decade, the Steelers won the Super Bowl four times, and even the Pirates won the World Series twice. Granted, the Penguins weren't very good at the time, but they had their run in the 1990s. That Mario Lemieux guy, the 66 to which Keisel refers, was pretty good, eh? Brett Keisel, of course, remains very active in Pittsburgh, and with the Steelers, he announced their fifth round selection of DLYA Black earlier this year. For example, back on X, he admitted that he was venting, adding, I want to see the next generation get a parade because who doesn't love a good parade? You know, it's funny. I keep hearing all the so called experts talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and even the beat writers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They keep saying the Steelers are all in now. With these draft picks, they're all in. They're all in every year. What are you talking about? It's never a time to rebuild. They never go into a game thinking, oh, there's next year. Oh, we can't win this one. We're just rebuilding. What the hell is everybody talking about? Just because sometimes you don't get the results that you want to get, doesn't mean that we weren't fully committed to winning or we weren't all in. It's the stupidest, it's literally the dumbest thing that I hear continuously over and over and over again. And it really is a stupid narrative. If you really don't think that Coach Tomlin, Art Rooney, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are trying to win every time they step on the field, then you're really not paying attention. Some people might like this, some people might not. Steelers signed GM Omar Khan to contract extension. We have signed GM Omar Khan to a new 3-year contract that will keep him with the team through at least the 2028 season. Well, I know one thing. I definitely do not like the move whatsoever, trading Minka Fitzpatrick away. And I definitely don't like the way that the TJ Watt contract extension has been handled. But hey, Art Rooney, it's his business, it's his team. He's entitled to do things the way that he wants. And I'm just letting you know that Omar Khan will be with the Pittsburgh Steelers for additional 3 years. I'd love to know everybody's thoughts on that. If you think he's a good GM, if you think he's a bad GM, I thought everything was going great until the Minka Fitzpatrick trade. I gave Coach Tomlin an A plus plus. The way they handled the draft, they didn't reach for any players, the free agent signings, and then all of a sudden this explosion, the Minka Fitzpatrick, and now if TJ Watt gets traded, my season is going to be ruined before the Pittsburgh Steelers play one snap of football. There was another article written. Insider says many former players have bitten their tongues about playing for Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is a beloved head coach in the NFL. He is revered by his peers and admired by outside players. Just a few months ago, leading up to the 2025 draft, Tomlin was voted as the coach incoming rookies would most like to play for. He's a future Hall of Famer and continues to have players, coaches, and media members speak highly of him, except for CBS Sports' Aditi Kinkhabwala, appearing on the 93.7 The Fans PM show Wednesday with Andrew Filipponi and Chris Mueller. Kinkhabwala hinted that number of former players under Tomlin don't exactly have good things to say about him. Now, here's the problem that I have with this type of article, and I've caught her lying multiple times. If you're not going to say the player that said it, then don't report it. And I understand that she has a relationship with the players and she doesn't want to violate their trust. So if you talk to them and they say, hey, I don't want you to put that on paper or say that out loud and put my name to it, then she shouldn't talk about it. See, this is my problem with her. She has no integrity. She gets caught lying all the time. All the time. She wrote an article yesterday saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers told TJ Watt that he was lucky to be a Steeler. And then she a sentence later, she says, well, maybe they didn't use those exact words. So she's letting you know right there in her own article that she's lying. This is my problem with her. I'll just say this without violating anybody's trust. There are many former players that I have spoken to that have bitten their tongues about the experience with Mike. Kinkhabwala said of Tomlin, according to the video via 93.7 The Fan on YouTube, you hear time and time again about Tomlin being a player's coach and guys wanting to play for him because he treats them with respect as professionals and knows how to connect with them on a personal level. While that can be a great thing, it also can be a huge negative, as former outside linebacker James Harrison explained last week during an appearance on Nightcap with former Cincinnati Bengals receiver TJ Hushmanzada, stating that being a player's coach was the best and worst part about Tomlin. In the past, Tomlin has repeatedly stated that he treats players fairly but not equally. That allowed guys like Antonio Brown and Harrison to get away with stuff because of how important they were to the team, like Harrison falling asleep in meetings in 2017 before being released, or Brown doing his own thing over and over again until a meltdown occurred and there was no repairing the relationship. Others have stated some frustrations with the Steelers and how they operate in the past, like Melvin Ingram III requesting a trade shortly after signing with the Steelers because he was told one thing upon signing and then something different played out. For every negative story, though, there are plenty of positive ones. Tomlin remains a huge attraction in free agency. Even this offseason with the likes of Aaron Rodgers and Darius Slay, typically guys have nothing negative to say about him when they depart. Even Russell Wilson spoke highly of Tomlin after the Steelers very clearly didn't want him back. While the Steelers have not had playoff success in the last decade, Tomlin remains highly regarded for Kinkhabwala. There's a clear disconnect between accomplishments and reputation, and many won't talk about it. There's a huge disconnect, right? Because the national media is in love with Mike Tomlin, Kinkhabwala said of Tomlin, and the national media never brings up the playoff drought, and the national media never brings up all these wide receivers who can't seem to behave one after another and another. That's ironic considering Kinkhabwala is national media. She's one of the few who will talk about it, but there often appears to be more personal feeling brought into it when it comes to Kinkhabwala and Tomlin. She's ripped Tomlin in the past for seemingly not holding players accountable and has criticized Tomlin over and over again for how the Steelers handled Kenny Pickett, a player she has spoken highly of often when on the fan. Then one of her tweets, Aditi Kinkhabwala, I always say I root for people every time I see John Harbaugh. He asked me how are the kids. Kevin Stefanski uses my name every time he speaks to me, and at least he tries to answer my questions. I'd never met Zach Taylor. He spent 30 minutes on the phone sharing his philosophy last week. Then she goes on to say, all of this is to say, I don't care if you think your head coach hates me. I know how I work and who I am and the example I'm setting for my children. There's some things that she says that I agree with. Coach Tomlin, sometimes he lets players get away. He gives them a longer leash than they deserve. But then she goes on to defend Kenny Pickett. This is my problem with her. Kenny Pickett wanted to be traded because he didn't want to compete for his job. Coach Tomlin told Kenny Pickett, we're bringing another quarterback. You're going to have to compete for your job. And the softest man in the NFL demanded to be traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, of all places, where he knew he was going to be a backup for life. The same guy that missed multiple games because of bone bruises, because he's so fragile mentally and physically, and Kinkhabwala's in love with him and didn't like the way that Coach Tomlin handled the situation. I couldn't disagree with her more. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a personal issue with Coach. I don't know what her problem is, but me personally, I have caught her lying multiple times in articles. And if I had to bet, that's why Coach Tomlin doesn't like her, doesn't like to speak to her. Now, I'm not saying that Coach Tomlin doesn't, but she's trying to make it sound like Coach Tomlin doesn't address her by name or doesn't answer her questions. Well, maybe if she's told the truth and stuck to facts, he would be more welcome and opening to having a relationship with you, a professional relationship, that is. But when you're going to sit there and just blatantly lie, and I've caught her lying multiple times, I don't blame Coach Tomlin for giving her the cold shoulder. Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.